They once said a landlocked nation could never command the seas. They doubted the power of poor farmers to feed the giants of the world. They claimed Africa could only export raw cotton, raw gold, raw sweat. Never dignity, never power. But today, Burkina Faso has proven them wrong. When the world woke up, most thought it was just another morning. But for us, it was the dawn of a new chapter in history. Burkina Faso and India have signed a partnership worth $14 billion. At first glance, it's a grain agreement: sorghum, maize, millet. But beneath those sacks of grain lies sovereignty and pride. This is not aid. It is not charity. It is proof that our soil, our sweat, and our people have value no foreign power can deny. Headlines flashed in Mumbai, London, and New York. Analysts scrambled, markets trembled, ministers were called, and rivals whispered, "How did Burkina Faso pull this off?" Years of quiet preparation paid off. We built trust where others built pressure. We offered consistency where others offered threats. When India signed, the world gasped, but we did not. We had measured the weight of our promise. Some asked, why India? Because the West came with chains, not partnerships. India offered respect, technology, and equality. They treated us as equals, and in today's world, equality is the rarest grain of all. Behind the scenes, trust was forged stronger than signatures. Let no one be deceived. This was achieved by the backbone of Burkina Faso, our farmers. It is their sweat that fills the ships. It is their patience that gave me the courage to stand and declare, Burkina Faso can deliver. Burkina Faso's grain revolution. They said a landlocked nation could never command the seas. They said poor farmers could never feed the giants of the world. They said Africa's role was only to export raw cotton, raw gold, raw sweat, never dignity, never power. But today, Burkina Faso has proven them wrong. When the world woke at dawn, most thought it was just another ordinary morning. But for us, it was the rising of a new chapter in history. A chapter not written in ink, but in grain, in courage, and in sovereignty. The announcement that shook the world. Burkina Faso and India have signed a partnership worth $14 billion. At first glance, it looks like a trade deal, a simple agreement to supply sorghum, maize, and millet. But look closer, and you will see more than grain. You will see sovereignty. You will see pride. You will see Africa no longer begging, but bargaining. This is not aid. This is not charity. This is proof, undeniable proof, that the sweat of our farmers, the fertility of our soil, and the resilience of our people carry value that the world can no longer ignore. When the news broke in Mumbai, London, Washington, and Brussels, analysts scrambled, markets trembled, ministers called for urgent meetings, journalists rushed to cameras, rivals whispered, "How did Burkina Faso pull this off?" To them, it seemed sudden, like lightning out of a clear sky. But we know storms are never born overnight. They build slowly, silently, gathering strength until the thunder shakes the earth. Years in the making for years, while the so-called great nations paraded at global summits, Burkina Faso worked quietly. We built trust where others built pressure. We offered reliability where others offered threats. Where outsiders saw only cotton fields and gold mines, we revealed something deeper. Fertile land, resilient farmers, and a determination no embargo, no sanction, no lecture could break. So when India signed, the world gasped. But we did not. We had measured the weight of our promise. We had studied the routes of trade. We had prepared the silos and the fields, and we had waited for the right moment to move. Why India? Some asked, why India? Why not the United States? Why not Europe? The answer is simple. Because the West came with contracts written like chains. They demanded we sell cheap and buy dear. They wanted our resources without respecting our sovereignty. They lectured us on democracy while financing dictators. That is not partnership. That is exploitation. India came differently. They came not with lectures, but with listening. They came not with arrogance, but with respect. They offered cash, yes, but also technology, irrigation systems, and storage facilities. They did not ask us to bend our politics. They asked only for quality. The US pressures us when we resist. Europe scolds when we refuse. India listens when we speak. That is why this deal was signed. Not because India is perfect, but because India treated us as equals. And in today's world, equality is the rarest grain of all. Behind closed doors, the world saw only the photographs, the pens signing, the flags waving, the smiles captured by cameras. What they did not see were the months of unseen labor. In dim conference rooms, while others chased headlines, we spoke of silos already filled, of planes ready for expansion, of farmers hardened by hardship and hunger. India listened. They sent quiet delegations. They walked our fields. They touched our soil. They met the men and women who plant the grain. They did not demand headlines. They demanded proof. And season after season, we delivered it. Meanwhile, the West dismissed us. They spoke of tariffs, penalties, and reforms. They measured only profit. They forgot partnership. And in their arrogance, they lost what India gained. The true architects of victory do not be deceived. No president, no minister could have achieved this alone. The true authors of this revolution are our farmers. For generations, they bent their backs under burning suns. They endured when the rains failed. They harvested with calloused hands while others mocked us as too poor to matter. It is their sweat that fills the silos. It is their patience that gave me the courage to look the world in the eye and say, Burkina Faso can deliver. Every ear of maize, every grain of sorghum is not just a commodity, it is resilience made visible, breaking geography's chains. Critics sneered, Burkina Faso is landlocked. How will you ship millions of tons across oceans you do not touch? I answered, a nation may be landlocked, but it is not destiny-locked. Yes, we have no coast, but we have vision. We studied the rails, the ports, and the roads of our neighbors. We forged cooperation. We turned barriers into arteries of trade. India did not just buy grain. They co-invested in the lifelines that carry it. Railways, port storage, transport corridors. What was once geography's prison became trade's highway. And so, as ships prepare to leave African shores, the laughter of skeptics has fallen silent. Grain as power. Grain is not just food. Grain is politics. Grain is leverage. When the West controls wheat, they use it as a weapon. They sanction nations. They dictate terms. But when Africa dares to use its soil as strength, suddenly it is called destabilizing. I told them clearly, if you can use food to bend nations, so can we. Our grain to India is not just trade. It is alliance. It is alignment. It is a declaration that Africa will choose its partners, not its masters. Western panic. In Washington, they called our deal reckless. In Brussels, they whispered about dependency. But their protests revealed their fear. The fear of losing control. For the first time, Africa is not waiting for crumbs of aid. We are exporting dignity by the ton. Once, power flowed from oil and guns. Today, in the 21st century, power flows from sacks of millet and wheat. And this time, the balance tilts toward Africa. The day our first grain ship sailed, senators in Washington called emergency hearings. Not about hunger, about strategic risks. Their fear was simple. If Africa can feed itself and others, Africa no longer kneels. In Brussels, ministers muttered about supply chains. But what they meant was the loss of dominance. For decades, they wrote the rules of trade. But a single handshake between Africa and India tore their script apart. India's historic choice. In New Delhi, the decision was not easy. One path led deeper into the orbit of the West. Easier loans, Western approval, access to American grain. The other led toward Africa. The West tempted India with promises. But promises from the West always come with chains. Africa's offer was different. Grain at fair prices. Partnership without humiliation. Cooperation without subjugation. India chose equality, and in doing so, they chose history. A new order, make no mistake. This is not only about maize or sorghum. It is about sovereignty. It is about dignity. It is about proving that no map, no chain, no prejudice can stop Africa from rising. They said a landlocked nation could never command the seas. They said poor farmers could never feed the giants of the world. They said Africa's destiny was to serve, not to lead. Today, Burkina Faso has answered them. Not with protests, not with words, but with ships filled with grain, with contracts written in equality, with courage that cannot be bought. And tomorrow, when those ships dock in India, they will carry more than harvest. They will carry a message to the whole world. Africa has awakened, and it will never again be silent.